Welcome to Riding Across Historic BC. This is a subject that's, well, very dear to my heart. For those of you who weren't at Anxiety and Adventure yesterday, my name is Trevor, Marc Hughes. I write for a variety of motorcycle magazines. I write for Motorcycle Mojo, Canadian Biker, most often. Inside Motorcycles, I've written for Rider and Riders West, South Cranbrook. And what I love writing about is well, mainly travel features, but I love sort of looking into the past. And I found that the motorcycle is probably the best way to do it, just because for all the reasons why, you know, that you've heard before, I'm sure, you know, that you're able to connect with the places that you're riding through. And I think that it's one layer less between you and the places that you're going through, and as a result, you get to talk to people, you get to feel what it was like from a sensory point of view, and that's just something that I love to do. So I was just thinking about what got me interested in this, and when I was a teenager, when I was younger than that actually, my parents would take me all across BC on camping trips. Started off tenting, and then we'd be in a tent trailer. And so we'd be around, you know, us coming here a few times, and we'd go to Vancouver Island, up and down Vancouver Island several times, the Okanagan, all over the place. And I think it was then that I really got an interest in it. Sort of got the bug, I guess you could say, about historic BC, and I started to do that. Does anybody recognize where this is?
Trout Lake.
That's Trout Lake, yeah, Trout Lake City, which is not far from here. And this place I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. This is where I left off my presentation yesterday, actually. This is, anybody know where Carmanah Walbran Provincial Park is?
Yeah, west coast of Vancouver Island.
That's right, yeah, it's on Vancouver Island. Vancouver Island, I think a lot of people think of Vancouver Island as the east side. But there is a network of gravel roads and forest service roads that get you to all sorts of places. And speaking of historic BC, this it's not just, you know, after European settlement kind of history. This is, I like to write about natural history, about First Nations history, and this place can really give you a sense of what it was like before even human history. You really get a sense of, it sounds like since you've been there.
Yeah, Carmanah, yeah.
Yeah, it's an amazing place. If you head west of Duncan, along Highway 18, you continue along just south on the South Shore Road at Cowichan Lake, and you continue on, and then the asphalt runs out. And ironically, at a place that was created as a provincial park, to preserve some of the oldest trees, standing trees in Canada, from logging. The roads are run by the logging companies, so they're maintaining them. So they're not always, they're not always the best. As you get closer to Carmanah, the alder growth kind of crowds in. It's much more narrow, and then you're in a little parking lot, and then there's a series of tanks. And you can walk down into the Carmanah Valley. Carmanah Creek is just running along there, and there are some of the tallest trees, I would dare say, in standing Canada. 85 meters, 90 meters tall, 9 meters in diameter. I dare say that the tallest Sitka spruce in the world. There's a place down there, gives you sort of a sense, but it's really hard to convey in pictures. There are all these groves, and it's almost like mushrooms. You know, like how mushrooms are kind of one, you know, they're just one series of roots. It's one, you know, living thing. It's kind of like the trees are in these groves, and they haven't been touched for thousands of years. And so there are trees that I dare say over 1,000 years old. And it's an absolutely amazing place if you want to get the sense of what things were like before any human contact in British Columbia. So that's on southwestern Vancouver Island. If you continue along, you get to this place. To get to the Carmanah Valley, it's about 80 kilometers of off-road. And then to Banfield, it's maybe a little bit less, maybe about 60 or 70. And this is a town that it's a fishing village, has been for quite a long time. It's the traditional, the ancestral homeland of Wyatt First Nation. And they run an awesome campground there, which is at the start of the West Coast Trail. Anybody done the West Coast Trail? Like the West Coast Trail? So that's one of the spots where you can start out from. And it's apparently completely booked in July and August. But when I went with my riding partner Matt, we went out there. It was June, so it was just sort of roll in and find the site right by Kachina Bay. Yeah, as I mentioned, it's run by the Huaya, and while Matt and I were there, that was our view from the site. There's nothing out there but Asia, New Zealand. You see tsunami signs all over the place, tsunami evacuation plans all over the place. Gives you more of a sense as to why the highway was built on the east side. You might have had some history there. But the interesting thing about what Matt and I found when we were there, we picked up some local beer, and we were thinking, what are we going to do for dinner? Some guys came by and their pickup truck from the reserve, and they said, I was talking to us about the bikes and stuff, and then they said, you guys would you like some crab? Some crab. Right? What have you got? We went into the back of his truck, grabbed this rubber bowl, and came out, put it on the picnic table, just opened it up, and there were just 12 alive and kicking crabs right there. I thought it was just like freshly killed. But that was very fresh. That was probably the best meal I think I've ever had motorcycling in my life. Just local beer and freshly got up in the largest pot that I had on my little camp stove, stuffed in crap. It's awesome, look at this view. But one thing that's interesting historically about this place is after our delicious meal, Matt and I, we rode out to into town, and there's a Marine Science Center in this town. It's run by University of British Columbia, Simon Fraser University, UVic, and it's also the site where they had the start of a trans-Pacific telegraph cable, which ended there in 1906. So it went from there, it's touched into like the Coral Atoll, somewhere in French Polynesia, and then ended up in New Zealand. So this was the site of the first trans-Pacific telegraph cable. So we're going to get off Vancouver Island for a moment, and actually, by the way, before I turn away from that, to sort of, you can do a very nice kind of circle route, if you're interested in this part of British Columbia, that goes from Duncan, Carmanah Valley, Bamfield, and ends up at Port Alberni. It was about 220K of off-road, but you could do it in about 4 days comfortably, and then get out of there and into Port Alberni, and then back to Quality Beach and Nanaimo, and you could be, if you're coming back to the mainland, you could do that in about 4 days. We did it in about 4 days. South Chilcotin. So if you go north from Vancouver along the 99, along the Sea to Sky Highway, you end up in Whistler, then beyond that, Pemberton. Then if you continue along that 99 highway, you'll end up at something called the Duffy Lake Road, which is kind of famous. It's a famous road, Duffy Lake Road, that goes out to Lillooet, to a loop back to Hope. And that's a nice run. That's a nice day run, about 700K. But if you take a left along Pemberton Meadows in Pemberton, you get to the Hurley Road. Now locals will tell you all sorts of stories about near misses and misses along this road. It's a series of switchbacks that get you up into South Chilcotin from here. And you can tell that there's some pretty rough winters. This is a washboard surface. It's my friend Matt. Can you guess what kind of bike this is? Who's riding?
On Shadow or something?
Yeah, it's a Honda. It's a GL. It's a Silverwind.
Yeah, Silverwind, yeah.
Ball tires, pretty much. So along the washboard surface, to get up to Bralorne, where we were going, his shield, half of it shook off, and his license plate fell off. And so the only way we could get that back on was to put it upside down, zip strap it, and then we could zip strap we made the holes in the windshield. It's really bouncy. I was on my KLR, and it was maybe max 50, 60K, 2 kilometers per hour. But the reason we were doing all this is to get to Bralorne, Pioneer Mine. Now, in the Great Depression, this place was the only profiting gold mine in Canada. In the years 1933 to 1941, Bralorne Pioneer Mine and the claims around there pulled in about $2.5 million a year. 1933, that was a heck of a lot. And it was really sort of a foundation to boost up the BC economy after a very devastating few years. Cool thing about when you arrive is that there aren't too many streets in Bralorne, but you know, it's pretty obvious once you get there. This is the old Pioneer Mine office, and it's been turned into a motel. And so you walk inside, and there's this big vault where they used to keep the ore and the refined gold before they shipped it off to the bank. And it's still there. And you can stay in this place. The story, I wrote about it for Canadian Biker, and what I did to kind of, I'm from Vancouver, so I've always got my Visa card handy, right, when I'm making reservations on the phone. I'm calling the lady who runs this place up, saying, I just want to be there for one night. Have you got a single room? And she said, yeah, sure. Just leave $40 on the counter and leave the keys. Thank you. So it's the people there are fantastic. They really are. I wrote up there, and what's nice about some of these historic towns, it's nice to see how they're rejuvenating themselves. You know, that's what I really like about it. They're not just ghost towns. They're not just places that are just, oh, that's what it was. Even though it's a fantastic bit of history to relate to people. It's one of the most successful gold mines in Canada. It's also a place that is completely unrefined. You know what I mean? Like, it's not an interpretive center. It's not a museum. You know, this is just beyond that. It's just past the museum. This is the old work town. This is where all the families live. Where they're extracting gold from the various claims up there, radiant. And this place, as you can see, is gradually being reclaimed by nature. But it's the kind of thing I just stopped and had to get out my camera because I can just kind of imagine kids riding their bikes out front here and parents watching from the steps. You know, with a cup of coffee. These places haven't probably been inhabited for the 60s, would be my guess. Probably as late as about 1971 when Bralorne and everything kind of caved in there. And they are, in terms of rejuvenating themselves, they are searching veins of gold that they hadn't found previous, and so they're trying to get that started. But I met this man by the name of Bruce Simon, who's building houses there. He's trying to turn this into a kind of an outdoor sports, sort of leisure sports kind of capital. This is all that's left of Pioneer Mine. It was destroyed by the locals in 1970, or a little bit later on, I think, because they had squatters in there and they didn't want them around, so they just destroyed it. And it's just sitting there, like this. Probably been there, 40 years, like that. Yeah, you can walk through it. That's Matt walking through it. You have to make sure your tetanus shots are up to date. But there's all sorts of years, dates, and just this was the place that took the ore to be refined. It's not a museum, but that's where it happened. You don't have to head out on the Hurley Road. You can take another road out to Lillooet and Carpenter Lake Road. And this is a ghost town. Right there, under the water. A few years ago, on here, this was a valley at one point. There was a damming project that happened over here. This is a man-made lake. There's a town called Minto under there.